The stars belonged to the Corvins, and they made sure everyone knew it. For 300 years, their massive ships had crossed the galaxy like hungry wolves. Every world they found became theirs. Every species they met became their slaves or died trying to resist. Admiral Zextar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Iron Fist. He was 8 feet tall and covered in natural armor that looked like black metal. His forearms moved with deadly grace as he studied the star charts. 47 different alien races had fallen before his fleet. Some had tried to fight. Others had begged for mercy. None had succeeded in stopping the Corvin war machine. The bridge crew worked in perfect silence. Every Corvin warrior knew their place and their duty. They had been bred for war, trained from birth to conquer and destroy. Their thick skin could stop most weapons. They could survive in the cold vacuum of space without suits for several minutes. They were the perfect soldiers, and they knew it. Admiral, called War Chief Gralthok from his station. Long-range sensors have detected a new contact, unknown, vessels approaching the Kepler 442 system. Zextar's eyes glowed with interest. It had been 6 months since they had found new prey. The last species, the Trilaxians, had lasted only 3 days before surrendering. Their crystal cities now served as monuments to Corvin power. "How many ships?" Zextar asked. 15 vessels, sir. They appear to be colony ships. Primitive design. Basic fusion drives and simple shielding. Zextar laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "Colonists. How delightful. Gather the fleet. We will welcome these newcomers to our empire." Far away in the cramped command center of the colony ship New Hope, Captain Jake Morrison stared at the screen with growing worry. The ship's sensors had picked up something that made his blood run cold. Massive energy signatures were moving toward them from the inner system. "Lisa, you need to see this," Jake called to his second-in-command. Commander Lisa Parker floated over to his station. In the low gravity of the ship's rotating section, movement was more like swimming than walking. She looked at the sensor data and felt her stomach drop. "Those are warships," she said quietly. "Big ones." Jake nodded. 15 of them, maybe more. They're heading straight for us. The New Hope was one of 15 colony ships carrying human families to a new world. They had traveled for 8 years to reach this system. The planet they called New Eden was perfect for human life. Green continents, blue oceans, and an atmosphere they could breathe. It was supposed to be their new home. "Sir," called the communications officer from across the bridge. "We're receiving a transmission." "Put it through," Jake ordered. The main screen flickered and showed something that made several crew members gasp. The alien was huge, with skin like black armor and eyes that glowed red. When it spoke, its voice was like a landslide. "Primitive creatures," the alien said. "I am War Chief Gralthok of the Corvin Empire. You have entered our space without permission. Your ships will surrender immediately. Your people will serve the Empire as slaves. Any resistance will result in your complete destruction." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. "Slaves?" whispered Lisa. "They want to make us slaves?" Jake felt anger rising in his chest. These aliens thought they could just take everything humans had worked for. The families sleeping in the colony ships had given up everything on Earth for a chance at a new life. They had traveled across the galaxy to find freedom, not slavery. "Send a message to all ships," Jake ordered. "Tell them we have a situation." Dr. Alex Chen was in the science lab when the alert came through. As the fleet's chief scientist, he had been studying the new solar system, mapping planets and asteroids. Now he found himself studying something much more dangerous. The limited data they had on the Corvins was not encouraging. Their ships were 3 times larger than human vessels. Their weapons could probably destroy a colony ship with one shot. Their technology was clearly more advanced than anything humans had built. "Alex," Lisa's voice came through the comm system. "We need you on the bridge. Now." He made his way through the ship's corridors, past families who were just beginning to wake up from their long sleep. Children played in the recreation areas, not knowing that their new world might be taken from them before they even saw it. On the bridge, the senior staff had gathered around the main table. Captain Morrison looked tired and worried. "What do we know about them?" Jake asked as Alex arrived. Not much, Alex admitted. They're obviously predators, built for war. Their physical advantages are significant, but what? They're broadcasting. On every frequency. They want us to be afraid. Most predators don't waste time on threats, they just attack. Lisa frowned. You think they're trying to scare us into giving up? Maybe. Or maybe they enjoy the fear. Either way, it tells us something about how they think. Engineer Kate Williams looked up from her tablet. I've been running numbers on our ships. We're not built for fighting. We're colony vessels. Cargo haulers. Against their warships, we'd last about 30 seconds. So we run? Asked the navigation officer. Jake shook his head. Where? We don't have enough fuel to reach another system. And even if we did, these Corvins seem to control a lot of space. We'd just be running toward more of them. Then we surrender? Lisa asked. And become slaves? Kate's voice was angry. I didn't come 8 years across space to bow down to some alien empire. Alex was studying the sensor data from the Corvin ships. They're moving in a standard formation, 3 groups of 5 ships, each. Textbook military approach. Textbook for who? Jake asked. For them, apparently. Look at this. Alex brought up a tactical display. They're assuming we'll either run or fight head-on. Their formation is designed to handle both responses. What if we do neither? Lisa asked quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. What if we don't run and don't fight the way they expect? Jake felt something stirring in his chest. It wasn't fear anymore, it was something else. Something that had helped humans survive ice ages and plagues and wars on Earth. The asteroid field, he said slowly. Between us and the planet. It's dense, perfect for hiding. Our ships aren't designed for that kind of maneuvering, Kate protested. No, Jake smiled grimly. But we're humans. We adapt. The Corvin fleet was still 6 hours away. 6 hours to turn 15 colony ships into something that could survive. The encounter. 6 hours to prove that humans didn't give up easily. Send the message, Jake ordered. Tell all ship captains to prepare for emergency maneuvers. We're going to show these Corvins something they've never seen before. What's that? Lisa asked. Humans who refuse to quit. War Chief Growlthok stood on the bridge of his destroyer, Bloodhammer, watching the sensor displays with growing confusion. The human ships should have been easy to track. Colony vessels were large, slow, and built for carrying people, not for hiding. Yet somehow 15 massive ships had vanished into the asteroid field like smoke. Report, he growled to his sensor operator. The asteroids are interfering with our scans, War Chief. The humans appear to have scattered throughout the field. We're picking up energy signatures, but they keep moving. Growlthok's forearms flexed with anger. In 3 centuries of conquest, no prey had ever tried to hide from the Corvin fleet. They either ran in terror or attacked in desperation. This was something new, and Growlthok did not like new things. Send patrol ships into the field, he ordered. Find them and destroy them. Deep inside the asteroid field, Captain Jake Morrison watched the Corvin ships approach on his tactical display. The New Hope was hidden in the shadow of a massive rock, engines running cold and silent. Around him, the bridge crew worked quietly, speaking in whispers, even though the aliens could not hear them through the vacuum of space. 3 Corvin ships, entering the field, reported Lisa Parker from her station. They're moving in formation, scanning as they go. Jake nodded. The plan was simple in theory, but dangerous in practice. Let the Corvins split up to search for them, then hit them when they were alone and unprepared. The problem was that even one Corvin ship could destroy several human vessels if it got the chance. Danny, you ready? Jake asked into his headset. Lieutenant. Danny Rodriguez was in his fighter, a small ship designed for moving between the colony vessels. It was not built for combat, but Kate Williams and her engineering team had spent the last 6 hours making changes. Mining lasers had been mounted on the wings. The cargo bay was full of metal fragments that could be fired like bullets. Ready, as I'll ever be, Captain, Danny's voice crackled through the comm. This is either going to be really clever or really stupid. Probably both, Jake admitted. The first Corvin patrol ship moved deeper into the asteroid field, its powerful engines, pushing it between the floating rocks. The ship was called Death's Edge, and its commander was confident that these hiding humans would be found quickly. Corvins had the best sensors in the galaxy. No primitive species could hide from them for long. Commander HFY studied his displays, looking for the energy signatures that would reveal the human ships. The asteroids were a nuisance, blocking his scans and forcing him to move slowly. But patience was a warrior's virtue. He would find the prey and bring glory to the Empire. Danny Rodriguez waited in the shadow of an asteroid 3 times larger than his fighter. His hands were sweaty inside his gloves and his heart was beating fast. He had never been in a real fight before. None of the humans had. They were explorers and colonists, not soldiers, but they were also human, and humans had been fighting for survival since they lived in caves. "Contact," whispered the voice of Dr. Alex Chen from the science vessel Hope's Dream. "Corvin ship approaching your position, Danny. Range 2,000 meters and closing." Danny could see it now on his visual display. The Corvin ship was beautiful in a deadly way, all sharp angles and dark metal. It was 10 times larger than his fighter and carried enough weapons to destroy a city. But it was also alone, far from its friends, moving slowly through the asteroid field. "Here we go," Danny whispered and pushed his engines to full power. The Death's Edge was scanning a particularly dense cluster of asteroids when something impossible happened. A tiny human ship appeared from behind a rock, moving faster than anything that size should be able to move. Before Commander HFY could react, the human ship opened fire. Mining lasers, designed to cut through solid rock, sliced into the Corvin ship's hull. They were not military weapons, but they were powerful and precise. The human pilot used them like a surgeon's knife, cutting into engine ports and sensor arrays. "What?" HFY started to say. Then his ship shuddered as the human vessel fired. Again. This time, a stream of metal fragments struck the Death's Edge like a shotgun blast, tearing into its armor plating. "Return fire," HFY ordered, but the human ship was already gone, vanishing behind another asteroid before the Corvin. Weapons could lock on. Danny's heart was pounding as he piloted his fighter through the maze of floating rocks. The Corvin ship was turning to follow him, its weapons charging for another shot. But Danny had grown up playing flight simulators. He knew how to make a small ship dance through tight spaces. "Nice work, Danny," came Jake's voice. "Now get out of there." "Working on it," Danny replied, steering hard around a spinning asteroid. Behind him, the Corvin ship was trying to follow, but it was too big and moving too fast. It clipped the edge of a rock and spun sideways, sparks flying from its damaged hull. On the bridge of the New Hope, Jake watched the tactical display with satisfaction. The first phase of the plan had worked. The Corvin ship was damaged and confused, separated from its allies. Now it was time for Phase 2. "Kate, you're up," he said into his comm. Engineer Kate Williams was aboard the cargo vessel Heavy Lifter, which had been modified in ways that would have horrified its original designers. The ship's massive cargo arms, built for moving containers, now carried improvised weapons. Industrial welders had become plasma cannons. Construction explosives had been turned into missiles. "Target acquired," Kate reported, watching the damaged Corvin ship drift past her hiding spot. "Engines showed damage. Shields are down in 3 sections." "Take the shot," Jake ordered. Kate smiled grimly and activated the cargo arms. They swung out from the Heavy Lifter like giant robot arms, each one carrying a welding torch modified to burn 10 times hotter than normal. The torches ignited with brilliant blue flames and struck the Corvin ship's hull. Commander HFY felt his ship shudder as something attached to the outside. Emergency alarms began wailing as hull temperature spiked in multiple sections. On his damage display, red warnings appeared faster than he could read them. "What is attacking us?" he demanded. "Unknown, sir. Multiple heat sources burning through the hull. It appears to be construction equipment." HFY stared at his tactical officer. "Construction equipment?" Before anyone could answer, the Death's Edge shuddered again as one of Kate's improvised missiles struck its engine section. The explosion was not large, but it was perfectly placed. The Corvin ship's main drive flickered and died. "We're losing power," reported the engine room. Main reactor is shutting down. Kate watched with professional satisfaction as the Corvin ship went dark. The heavy lifter's cargo arms released their grip and folded back into position. Around her, the engineering crew cheered quietly. "Target neutralized," she reported to Jake. "One Corvin ship down, engines dead, drifting." "Outstanding work, Kate. Phase 3 people." Dr. Alex Chen had been busy while the others fought. His science vessel was equipped with the most sensitive sensors in the human fleet, and he had been studying every detail of the Corvin ship's energy signatures. Now he knew something important. "Jake," he called over the comm. "I'm reading the Corvin communication frequencies. They're trying to call for help, but something's wrong with their transmitters." "What kind of wrong?" "The kind of wrong that happens when you cut their communication array with a mining laser." Danny's voice cut in. He was still flying his fighter through the asteroid field, keeping watch for more Corvin ships. Jake smiled. The plan was working better than he had hoped, but they could not celebrate yet. There were still 2 more Corvin ships in the asteroid field, and many more waiting outside. "Lisa, where are the other patrol ships?" "One is moving toward the outer edge of the field. The other is heading straight for us. Range 5,000 meters and closing fast." Jake felt his stomach tighten. The second Corvin ship would be more careful now. It would know that the humans were dangerous. "All ships, prepare for Phase 4. This one's going to be harder." Commander Kexmol of the Corvin ship Bone Crusher had heard the Death's Edge go silent. He was not surprised. Vexhai had always been too eager, too quick to rush into battle. But Kexmol was different. He was patient and careful. He moved his ship slowly through the asteroid field, sensors at maximum range, weapons ready to fire at the first sign of human trickery. These primitive creatures had managed to surprise one Corvin ship, but they would not surprise him. "Sir," called his tactical officer, "I'm detecting multiple energy sources ahead. The humans appear to be regrouping." "Excellent." Kexmol smiled, showing teeth like black daggers. "Prepare all weapons. We will end this quickly." But as the Bone Crusher moved forward, Kexmol began to realize that something was wrong. The energy signatures were coming from everywhere, at once. Behind asteroids, above them, below them. It was as if the entire asteroid field had come alive with human ships. "How many of them are there?" he demanded. "Unknown, sir. Sensors are detecting 15 ships. No, 20. No. Sir, I'm reading over 30 human vessels." Kexmol stared at his display. That was impossible. Intelligence had reported only 15 human ships. How could there be 30? He was about to find out that humans were very good at making something look like something else. Old cargo containers, ejected from the colony ships and fitted with simple engines and transmitters, were broadcasting fake energy. Commander Kexmol watched his tactical display with growing horror. The human ships were moving in patterns that made no sense. They appeared and disappeared behind asteroids like ghosts. His weapons fired at targets that turned out to be empty cargo containers. His sensors tracked ships that suddenly split into 3 different contacts. "Sir, recommend we withdraw and regroup with the fleet," his tactical officer suggested. Kexmol's pride would not allow retreat. He was a Corvin warrior. These primitive humans with their converted mining equipment could not defeat him. "Negative. We destroy them here." The Bone Crusher fired its main weapons at what appeared to be a large human colony ship. The plasma bolt struck their target and it exploded in a brilliant flash. Kexmol smiled with satisfaction until his sensor operator spoke up. "Sir, that was a decoy. Cargo containers filled with fuel and metal scraps." Before Kexmol could respond, the real attack began. Danny Rodriguez came screaming out of an asteroid shadow, his modified fighter moving faster than Corvin sensors could track. His mining lasers carved deep lines across the Bone Crusher's hull. But this time, Danny was not alone. 3 more human fighters appeared from different directions, all firing at once. These were not military fighters. They were maintenance craft, cargo shuttles and emergency rescue pods. But Kate Williams had spent hours modifying each one with whatever weapons she could create. Multiple contacts attacking from all sides, reported the tactical officer as the bone crusher shuddered under the assault. Damage to outer hull sections, shields holding but weakening. Kexmol tried to target the small human craft, but they moved like insects, darting between asteroids and striking from unexpected angles. Every time his weapons locked onto one target, two more would appear from somewhere else. Tony Brooks was piloting one of those craft, a cargo shuttle that had been converted into a flying bomb. His job was simple but dangerous. Get close to the Corvin ship and attach a package that Kate had built from mining explosives and welding equipment. Tony, you're clear for approach, Jake's voice came through the comm. Danny's got their attention. On the starboard side, Tony gripped his controls and dove toward the massive Corvin ship. It was like flying toward a floating city bristling with weapons. Laser fire streaked past his shuttle as the alien gunners tried to shoot him down. But Tony had learned to fly in the asteroid mining fields of Earth's outer system. He knew how to make a small ship dance. The cargo shuttle slammed into the bone crusher's hull and magnetic clamps activated, holding it in place. Tony had 3 seconds to attach the explosive package before the Corvins figured out what was happening. Package delivered, he reported, then fired his engines and pulled away from the alien ship as fast as possible. Kate Williams watched the timer on her improvised bomb count down from her position aboard the heavy lifter. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. The explosion was not large by military standards, but it was perfectly placed. The blast tore through a section of the Corvin ship's hull that Alex Chen had identified as critical. Atmosphere vented into space in a brilliant stream of frozen air. Direct hit on their power coupling, Alex reported from his sensor station. Their main weapons are offline. Commander Kexmol felt his ship shudder as emergency power kicked in. Half his weapons were dead, his shields were failing, and the humans were still attacking from every direction like a swarm of angry wasps. Sir, we need to withdraw, his tactical officer said again, this time with real fear in his voice. Kexmol looked at his tactical display and realized something that chilled him to his core. These humans were not fighting like any species the Corvins had ever encountered. They did not try to match Corvin strength with strength. Instead, they used their weaknesses as advantages and turned everything around them into weapons. Send a message to War Chief Growlthok, Kexmol ordered. Tell him we need reinforcements. These humans are different, but the message never reached its destination. Dr. Alex Chen had been busy studying Corvin communication systems, and he had discovered something interesting. The aliens used a very sophisticated network to coordinate their ships, but sophisticated systems had sophisticated weaknesses. Jake, Alex called over the comm, I can disrupt their communications. If I send the right signal through their network, it will look like static to them, but block their transmissions. Do it, Jake ordered. Alex activated a program he had written during the battle. It was simple but effective. The Corvin communication network was designed to filter out natural interference from space, but it was not designed to handle artificial signals that looked like natural interference. Within seconds, every Corvin ship in the system found itself unable to communicate with its allies. The sophisticated network that was supposed to give them an advantage had become a weakness that isolated each ship. War Chief Growlthok stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at a communication system that had gone completely silent. Had lost contact with both patrol ships in the asteroid field. His long-range sensors showed explosions and energy discharges, but he could not tell what was happening. Sir, his communication officer reported, all channels are filled with interference. We cannot reach our ships. Growlthok felt something he had not experienced in decades of warfare. Uncertainty. The humans were supposed to be primitive colonists with basic technology. They should have surrendered or been destroyed within minutes. Instead, they had vanished into an asteroid field and were apparently fighting back. Prepare the entire fleet for battle, he ordered. We go in together. But as Growlthok gave his orders, he did not know that the humans were already preparing for his arrival. Captain Morrison had anticipated that the Corvins would eventually attack in force, and he had a plan for that too. All ships begin Phase 5, Jake announced over the fleet communication system. It's time to show them what humans can really do. Throughout the asteroid field, human ships began to implement the most dangerous part of their plan. Instead of hiding and running, they were going to make the Corvins come to them. And when the aliens arrived, they would find that the asteroid field itself had become a weapon. Lieutenant Ben Parker was aboard the mining vessel Rockbreaker, which had been converted for a very special purpose. His job was to use the ship's mining charges to break apart specific asteroids at exactly the right time. It was dangerous work that required perfect timing and a lot of luck. "Ben, you ready?" Jake asked over the comm. "As ready as someone can. Be for controlled demolition in zero gravity while being shot at by aliens," Ben replied. "The charges are set. Just give me the word." Engineer Kate Williams was coordinating the entire operation from her mobile command center, a cargo ship that had been fitted with communication equipment and tactical computers. Around her, displays showed the positions of every human ship, every Corvin vessel, and every important asteroid in the field. "Corvin fleet is moving," she reported. 15 ships in formation, heading straight for the asteroid field. Estimated arrival in 12 minutes. Jake felt his stomach tighten. 15 Corvin warships against 15 human colony vessels. On paper, it was not even a fair fight. The aliens had better weapons, stronger shields, and centuries of military experience. But humans had something the Corvins did not understand. They had the ability to look at an impossible situation and find a way to make it possible. "Danny, Tony, all fighter pilots," Jake announced. "Remember, we're not trying to destroy their ships, we're trying to make them make mistakes." "What kind of mistakes?" Danny asked. "The kind that happen when you're angry and frustrated and fighting an enemy that doesn't follow the rules." Dr. Alex Chen was studying the Corvin fleet formation as it approached. The aliens were moving in a classic military pattern, designed to provide mutual support and maximum firepower. It was textbook perfect, which meant it was also predictable. "Jake," Alex called, "they're coming in exactly the formation I expected. If we can get them to follow us into Sector 7 of the asteroid field, Ben's charges will have maximum effect. And if we can't, then we're probably going to die," Alex said honestly. "But at least we'll die fighting instead of as slaves." Jake looked around the bridge of the New Hope. His crew was scared but determined. They were colonists and explorers, not soldiers. But they were also human, and humans had been surviving impossible odds since before they learned to make fire. "All ships," he announced. "The Corvin fleet is approaching. Remember the plan. We run, they chase, and we lead them exactly where we want them to go. Stay calm, trust each other, and let's show these aliens why they should never have messed with humanity." On the sensors, the Corvin fleet appeared as 15 bright dots moving steadily toward the asteroid field. They looked unstoppable, invincible, like the conquering force that had crushed 47 different species. But they had never fought humans before, and they were about to learn that sometimes the prey can become the predator. The real battle was about to begin. War Chief Gralthok led his fleet into the asteroid field like a hammer falling on an anvil. 15 Corvin warships moved in perfect formation, their weapons charged and ready to destroy the human colonists once and for all. The war chief was tired of games. These primitive creatures had embarrassed him long enough. "All ships maintain formation," he ordered over the fleet communication system. "We sweep the field section by section. Nothing escapes." The massive Corvin ships moved between the asteroids like predators hunting prey. Their sensors swept back and forth, searching for the human vessels that had caused so much trouble. To Gralthok, this was no longer about conquest, it was about honor. No species had ever made Corvin warriors look foolish, and he would not allow these humans to be the first. Deep in the asteroid field, Captain Jake Morrison watched the enemy fleet approach on his tactical display. The Corvin ships looked unstoppable. As they moved through space, their dark hulls bristling with weapons. But Jake had learned something important in the past few hours. Sometimes the biggest and strongest enemy was also the most predictable. "They're taking the bait," he reported to his fleet. "All ships, begin retreat pattern Alpha. Make it look like we're running scared." Throughout the asteroid field, human ships began to move. But they were not really running. They were leading the Corvins exactly where they wanted them to go. Each human vessel followed a carefully planned route that would draw the alien fleet deeper into the most dangerous part of the asteroid field. Danny Rodriguez piloted his fighter through a narrow gap between two spinning asteroids, the Corvin ship Dark Thunder following close behind. The alien vessel was much larger and more powerful, but it was also less maneuverable. Danny led it through a maze of floating rocks, each turn taking them deeper into Sector 7. "Come on, you big ugly ship," Danny muttered to himself. "Follow me right into the trap." Lieutenant Ben Parker watched from his position aboard the rockbreaker as the Corvin ships moved into position. Around him, dozens of asteroids had been fitted with mining charges, all connected to a detonation system that Kate Williams had designed. When the time came, Ben would turn the entire asteroid field into a weapon. "Targets are in position," he reported to Jake. "All charges are ready. Just say the word." But Jake was waiting for the perfect moment. The Corvins had to be completely committed to their attack, with no easy way to retreat. He watched as more enemy ships entered the kill zone, their formation spreading out as they searched for human vessels. Engineer Kate Williams monitored the battle from her command center, tracking every ship and every asteroid. Her improvised weapon system was the most complex thing she had ever built, and she was not sure it would work. But it was their best chance to level the playing field against the superior Corvin technology. "Jake," she called over the comm. "We have 12 Corvin ships in the target zone. 3 more are still approaching. How long until they're all in position?" 2 minutes, maybe 3. Jake felt sweat running down his face despite the cool air of the ship's bridge. Everything depended on timing. Too early and some of the Corvin ships would escape. Too late, and the aliens would realize they were in a trap. War Chief Growthok studied his tactical display with growing frustration. The humans were running, but they were not running in straight lines. They darted between asteroids like fish, swimming through coral, always staying just out of range of his weapons. Every time his ships got close enough to fire, the humans would disappear behind another rock. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "the humans appear to be leading us deeper into the field. This could be a trap." Gralthok laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "A trap? These primitive creatures think they can trap Corvin warriors? Let them try. We will crush whatever pathetic plan they have made." But as his ships moved deeper into Sector 7, Gralthok began to notice something strange. The asteroids in this area were positioned in unusual patterns. They seemed to form natural corridors that channeled his ships into specific areas. It was almost as if the entire field was designed to funnel his fleet into a killing ground. Dr. Alex Chen was aboard the science vessel Hope's Dream, using his sensors to track the movement of both fleets. He had spent hours studying the asteroid field, identifying which rocks were natural and which ones had been moved by human ships. The colonists had been busy during their time in the field, using their mining equipment to rearrange the floating stones into a deadly puzzle. "Jake," Alex called. "All Corvin ships are now in the target zone. They're spread out across a 3-kilometer area, exactly where we need them." "Ben, you're cleared to begin the sequence," Jake ordered. Lieutenant Ben Parker took a deep breath and activated the first set of charges. The explosions began at the outer edge of the trap, small blasts that broke apart carefully selected asteroids. The rocks shattered into thousands of pieces, creating a cloud of debris that began to drift inward toward the Corvin ships. "What was that?" demanded Gralthok as his ship shuddered from impacts with small rocks. "Asteroid fragments, sir. It appears some of the rocks are breaking apart naturally." But the war chief was beginning to suspect that nothing in this asteroid field was natural. The debris cloud was growing larger, and it was moving in patterns that seemed too organized to be random. Kate Williams watched her tactical display as the first phase of the trap activated. The debris cloud would hide the human ships and confuse Corvin sensors, but that was just the beginning. The real surprise was still to come. "Phase 2, Ben," she ordered. More charges detonated, this time breaking apart larger asteroids that had been positioned above and below the Corvin fleet. The explosions created a 3-dimensional cage of debris around the alien ships, limiting their movement and blocking their escape routes. Commander Vex Thul captain of the Corvan destroyer Iron Claw, watched in horror as rocks began falling toward his ship from every direction. His point defense weapons fired frantically, trying to destroy the larger pieces before they could cause damage. But there were too many fragments coming from too many directions. "Sir, we're trapped," his navigation officer reported. "Debris fields above, below, and on all sides. We can't maneuver without risk of collision." War Chief Growlthok felt the first cold touch of fear as he realized what the humans had done. They had not just hidden in the asteroid field. They had turned it into a weapon, using the rocks themselves as ammunition. The debris cage was tightening around his ships, and there was nowhere to run. "All ships, concentrate fire on the human vessels," he ordered. "Destroy them before they can complete whatever they're planning." But finding the human ships in the chaos was almost impossible. The debris clouds scattered sensor beams and blocked visual contact. The colonists seemed to appear and disappear like ghosts, striking at the Corvan ships and then vanishing again. Tony Brooks was piloting his converted cargo shuttle through the debris field, carrying a special weapon that Kate had designed just for this moment. It was not elegant or sophisticated. It was simply a cargo container filled with metal fragments and explosives, designed to be rammed into an enemy ship at high speed. "Target acquired," Tony reported as he lined up on the Corvan cruiser Bloodfang. Beginning attack run, the Bloodfang's weapons swiveled toward the approaching human shuttle, but Tony was already weaving between debris clouds, using the floating rocks as cover. The alien ship fired, but the plasma bolts struck asteroids instead of their target. Tony slammed his improvised missile into the Bloodfang's engine section and detonated the cargo container. The explosion was massive, tearing a hole in the Corvan ship's hull and sending it spinning out of control. "Direct hit on the Bloodfang," Kate reported. "Engine section destroyed. Ship is dead in space." But the Corvans were beginning to adapt to the human tactics. War Chief Growlthok ordered his ships to form a defensive circle, their weapons pointing outward to catch any attacking human vessel. It was a good strategy, but it played right into Jake Morrison's hands. "Perfect," Jake said as he watched the Corvan ships cluster together. "Ben, activate the final charges." Ben Parker smiled grimly and pressed the last detonation switch. The charges he had planted on the largest asteroids in the field all exploded at once, sending massive rocks tumbling toward the center of the trap where the Corvan ships were grouped together. The asteroids were not just falling. They had been positioned and aimed with mathematical precision, their trajectories calculated to intersect exactly where the enemy ships were located. It was like dropping a mountain on the Corvan fleet. "Incoming asteroids," screamed the tactical officer aboard Growlthok's flagship. Multiple impacts predicted in 30 seconds. Growlthok watched in disbelief as rocks the size of skyscrapers fell toward his ships. The humans had not just used the asteroid field as a hiding place. They had turned it into a massive weapon system, using the laws of physics and orbital mechanics to rain destruction on their enemies. The first asteroid struck the destroyer Night's Edge, crushing it like an insect. The second rock smashed into the cruiser Death's Promise, breaking it in half. More stones followed, each one guided by human calculations and timed to create maximum devastation. "Retreat," Growlthok ordered, his voice barely a whisper. All ships retreat immediately. But retreat was no longer possible. War Chief Growlthok floated in the wreckage of his once mighty fleet, surrounded by the twisted metal remains of Corvan warships. His flagship was dying, atmosphere leaking through dozens of holes, engines cold and silent. Around him, the asteroid field that had seemed like a simple hiding place for primitive colonists had become a graveyard for the Empire's finest warriors. "Sir," his communication officer called weakly from his damaged station, "we're receiving a transmission from the humans." Growlthok almost laughed. The humans wanted to talk. After destroying 15 Corvan warships with mining equipment and cargo containers, they wanted to have a conversation. "Put it through," he ordered. Captain Jake Morrison's face appeared on the main screen. He looked tired but determined. Behind him, Growlthok could see the bridge of a human colony ship, with crew members working at stations that had never been designed for war. "War Chief Growlthok," Jake said, "I'm offering you and your surviving crews safe passage out of this system. Your war is over." Gralthok stared at the human captain. In 3 centuries of conquest, no enemy had ever offered mercy to defeated Corvan warriors. They begged for their lives or died fighting, but they never offered help to their conquerors. Why? Gralthok asked. We came to enslave your people. We would have killed anyone who resisted. Jake was quiet for a moment, then said, because that's not who we are. We fought to protect our families, not to become killers. Take your ships and go home. Tell your empire what happened here. And what should I tell them? Tell them they thought they were tough. Jake said simply. Then humans arrived. Gralthok felt something break inside his chest. Not his body, but his understanding of the universe. For 300 years, the Corvan Empire had built its power on the belief that strength meant everything. The strong conquered the weak, and that was the natural order. But these humans had proven that strength was not just about big ships and powerful weapons. They had shown that intelligence, creativity, and determination could overcome any advantage. They had turned their weaknesses into strengths, and their enemies' strengths into weaknesses. My empire will not accept this defeat, Gralthok said. They will send more ships. Then we'll be ready, Jake replied. But maybe they should think about whether they really want to fight us. We didn't start this war, but we'll finish it if we have to. Over the next few hours, human rescue ships moved through the debris field, pulling Corvan survivors from damaged vessels. Engineer Kate Williams worked alongside Corvan engineers to repair life support systems. Dr. Alex Chen treated wounded alien warriors with the same care he gave to human patients. The surviving Corvan ships limped out of the system 3 days later, carrying news that would shake the Empire to its foundations. Admiral Zextar received Gralthok's report in stunned silence, unable to believe that 15 primitive colony ships had destroyed a full battle fleet. But the evidence was undeniable. The humans had not just won a battle. They had done something that no species in the galaxy had ever accomplished. They had made the Corvan Empire afraid. Word spread quickly through the galactic communication networks. Species that had suffered under Corvan rule learned that the mighty empire had been defeated by newcomers who had never fought a war. Rebellions began on a dozen worlds as enslaved peoples realized that their masters were not invincible. The New Eden colony was established, successfully, becoming humanity's first foothold in a galaxy that now viewed them with a mixture of respect and fear. The colonists built their cities and farms under skies that had been paid for with courage and cleverness, rather than blood and conquest. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of the colony's new space station, watching ships arrive from Earth with more settlers. The galaxy was a dangerous place, full of empires and predators who thought strength meant everything. But humanity had carved out a place among the stars, not through conquest, but by proving that sometimes the smallest creatures could have the biggest bite. Danny Rodriguez, now captain of the colony's defense force, joined Jake at the observation window. Think they'll come back? He asked. Jake smiled. Maybe. But if they do, they'll come with a lot more respect for what humans can do. Far across the galaxy, in the capital city of the Corvan Empire, Admiral Zextar sat in his war room, studying reports from across his territory. Rebellions on 12 worlds, 3 subject species declaring independence, military commanders requesting reinforcements they didn't have. The Empire was crumbling, and it had started with one human word. Gnome Zextar activated his communication system and sent a message to every corner of Corvan space. It was brief and simple. Avoid human territory. Classification, extreme danger. But the damage was already done. The galaxy had learned that the Corvan Empire could be defeated. More importantly, they had learned that sometimes the prey could become the predator, and sometimes the small could humble the mighty. In the years that followed, the story of the Battle of New Eden would be told on 1,000 worlds. Each telling would add new details, but the core message remained the same. There was a new species in the galaxy, one that fought with their minds as much as their weapons, and they had proven that no empire was truly invincible. The humans had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same.